Hello guys and welcome to my new video, and today I will finally look at MISTWEAVER monks. I've been playing MISTWEAVER monk a lot lately and I feel a lot of people are in the same position as me. They're still deciding on which healer they're gonna go for BfA. I know it's kinda late, but a lot of people, judging from the comments, they're kinda considering MISTWEAVER monk. They're not sure whether MISTWEAVER monk game style is going to be fun, they're not sure whether it's going to be viable, and I'm hoping that this video, which is going to be a semi-guide look at MISTWEAVERs and also my personal opinion piece on based on how fun they are. So first of all, MISTWEAVERs are definitely the healer that has been changed the most, and a lot of the perception about MISTWEAVERs is going to change for BfA. All of a sudden MISTWEAVERs have a lot of different builds for raiding situations, and this guide is going to cover mainly raiding situations because there's two builds to cover. Two builds are very different to each other, and I don't want this video to be 30 minutes long unless you want to see a 30-minute long video in the future. But either way, this is going to be a raiding MISTWEAVER guide. It's going to be looking at the different builds, and like I mentioned, MISTWEAVER is the only healer that can provide two different talent builds, two different healing gameplay rotational changes based on a situation. Whether you need a single target healing or whether you want to do the full-time AoE healing through fistweaving builds. So first of all, this guide is going to look at things like talents, gameplay, stat priority, and for the pre-patch people who are still playing pre-patch, look at gear and legendaries as well. But it'll also apply to the BfA launch as well. So first of all, let's look at talents. And talents, I will first look at the tank sitting build. That's what I'm going to refer to, the tank sitting build, of a single target healing build. And this is going to rely on casting Soothing Mist. It's going to rely on providing that amazing single target sustain that MISTWEAVERs can now provide in BfA through some of the talent choices, through Soothing Mist, through Enveloping Mist. And we'll talk about this now. So first of all, in tier 15, honestly the choices here are between Mist Wraps and Chi Burst. Mist Wraps are probably preferred here if you're going to go that hardcore tank healing build, because it increases an Enveloping Mist duration by 1 and its healing bonus. So all of a sudden if you cast Enveloping Mist on a target, aka tank who's taking a lot of damage, you're gonna get a decent bonus from it. And it has a direct synergy with life cycles. I'll mention that later on. Now, first of all, at tier 30, this is your movement abilities. Most likely, Tiger Sluice is really good because you still maintain that roll. You still have roll if you don't spec into Chi Torpedo. If you spec into Chi Torpedo, it's going to replace your roll. If you spec into Tiger Sluice, you get this kind of root ability that increases friendly target's movement speed and removes all roots and snares from them. It can be extremely strong in 5-man situations, things like that. Now, in tier 45, this is your mana tier. And honestly, for tank sitting build, you can probably go between life cycles and Manatee. You can't really choose Spirit of the Crane because in a tank sitting build, you'll probably want to use all of your global cooldowns on Soothing Mist to provide that constant healing to your tank, and you won't have that much time to, go and melee the boss. So if you go life cycles, which is going to be your Enveloping Mist build, because your Enveloping Mist reduces the mana cost of your next Vivify, and your Vivify reduces the mana cost of your next Enveloping Mist. This build with Mist Wraps and life cycles means that you will be casting Soothing Mist, Enveloping Mist on the target. That Enveloping Mist is going to reduce the mana cost of your next Vivify. When you cast Vivify, it's going to reduce the mana cost of your next Enveloping Mist. And again, Enveloping Mist is stronger because of the Mist Wraps, so you have this synergy which makes your Enveloping Mist quite strong. And this is what I consider the hardcore single target healing build. If you don't really use Enveloping Mist that much, consider using Chi Burst, consider using Manatee for this kind of build. Now in tier 60, honestly the clear winner here is Ring of Peace. Ring of Peace is probably the most underutilized talent for MISTWEAVERs out there. It's just unbelievable. You can use it as a way to knock people out. You can use it as a way to interrupt people's cast when you knock them out. You can use it as a kiting tool. It's just amazing tool, and especially in 5-man dungeons. It's really underutilized, and you can have some really MLG plays with this talent right here. Tier 75 is your personal cooldown row, and a lot of people will go between Diffuse Magic and Dampen Harm. Diffuse Magic, if you know there's magic damage happening, you can pick that up. If you're not sure what kind of damage is happening, you can pick up Dampen Harm, which is going to reduce all damage taken. It's 2-minute cooldown. Healing Elixir is much more reactive. You kind of have to use it after the damage happens. Like if you're not sure about this, a lot of people will go between Diffuse Magic and Dampen Harm. Keep in mind that this row will provide you 1 personal cooldown on top of the fact that you also have Fortifying Brew, which increases your current health and reduces damage taken. So all of a sudden you have 2 personal cooldowns, which can be very good in 5-man and raiding situation. and it kind of goes in line with all the other healer survivability. But you're one of the healers that has 2 personal cooldowns, which, again, utility. Pretty good. So tier 90 for tank sitting build, it's between basically Jade Statue and the 3-minute cooldown, the Red Crane. Now, Refreshing Jade Wind has its uses. It is an ability or a talent that relies on people being grouped up, relies on people taking constant AoE damage. And I mean, it's basically, this talent is built for fights like Barrier Matches, where there's constant AoE damage, everyone's grouped up, and you can get away with using it. But if you need that sustained single target healing, Jade Statue is great, because look at this. If you place a Jade Statue, if you go on the target, on a tank, you cast your Soothing Mist on them, and you can move. You can stop casting Soothing Mist. Your statue will be casting a replication of your Soothing Mist, which is a bit weaker, onto the target. It'll be casting onto the target, and it's going to provide a decent amount of healing. If it's not over, if you know there's going to be a lot of tank damage taken, and it does not go into overhealing, it's a decent choice. It's a very decent choice to provide that extra healing for bosses where there is a lot, where the tank is getting wrecked. Now, if you don't need this, you can spec into the 3-minute cooldown, the Red Crane. You can use it based on the damage patterns. It'll provide a decent amount of healing. And again, Refreshing Jade Wind is highly situational right now. Not a lot of people will be using this, but it really depends on the situation again. Now, at tier 100 as a tank sitting build, you'll most likely be using Upwelling. Upwelling right now in raids is extremely strong, because Essence Font accounts for such a big portion of your healing in raids. And the way Upwelling works is basically, for every 6 seconds Essence Font spends off cooldown, your next Essence Font may be chanced for 1 additional second. The duration of Essence Font heal over time is also increased by 4 seconds. So basically, if you don't cast Essence Font for a decent amount of time, you will have a really long and really powerful Essence Font, which is going to account for a lot of your healing. It's going to provide a hot onto people. That hot is going to work with your mastery, because it's going to, if I cast my Vivify, it's going to proc mastery twice, and I'll talk about that in the gameplay section later on. So this is a relatively decent tank sitting build. You can swap out Jade Statue, you can swap out this, you can go to Diffuse Magic, you can swap out to Manatee if you don't use Enveloping Mist. This talent build I would consider the hardcore single target build. And what does the gameplay look for this tank sitting build? So, first of all, let's assume you're going to go with the Jade Statue, which is perfectly fine. You can go with the Red Crane. Let's assume this. So what you'll be doing in most of your time is you'll be casting your Renewing Mists on cooldown. Most of the time you'll be casting on cooldown. You have 2 stacks of 2 charges of Renewing Mist, which are not as great as it sounds, but most of the time you'll want to cast it on cooldown. You'll never want to be sitting at 2 stacks of Renewing Mist. You kind of want to have at least 1 Renewing Mist rolling. There are situations where you might hold on to this, but honestly, it's very kind of niche scenarios, and if you're a beginner Mistweaver, you just cast it on someone else. Keep in mind that the way your mastery works, which means that Renewing Mist, Enveloping Mist, and Vivify causes your mastery to proc and instantly healing the primary target. Now, it doesn't actually include Soothing Mist, because Soothing Mist actually procs your mastery as well. It works with a deck system as well, so you have to keep that in mind. It's really weird that it's not in the tooltip right now, but every time you're casting Renewing Mist on someone, it's going to provide this initial mastery proc on them. So if you're casting Renewing Mist on someone, you can try and target someone who's lost some HP, but the fact is the Renewing Mist is a smart heal. Once the person is topped up, it's going to jump to someone else. It's so easy to use. It's almost kind of brainless. It almost doesn't require any thought whatsoever. You just place it on the raid and it's just going to jump from target to target, and you'll be casting your Soothing Mist on the tank. This is kind of the build right now. You're casting Soothing Mist on the tank. Soothing Mist is 8 seconds depending on the haste and stuff like that. If the tank is dipping low, you might go Enveloping Mist. If the tank is still dipping low, you might go Vivify on them, instant cast as well. And I call it like a chillaxing build, because if there's nothing to do, you'll just be casting this. You'll be trying to keep the tank at decent levels, and it's kind of relaxing in a lot of ways. Now, you'll be placing your Renewing Mist. Don't forget that. You'll be trying to place your Renewing Mist on the raid, and when the damage comes in, you'll be casting your Essence Font. And your Essence Font, usually if you haven't casted it in like the last, I don't know, 18 seconds or something, it will be extremely strong. It'll be extremely strong, and because of Upwelling is a really strong talent right now, your Essence Font will be doing so much healing. Now the fact is the Essence Font will place a hot on a target. Once the Essence Font places, like you see here, at the bottom right hand corner, you see this is my Essence Font hot. If I cast Vivify, Vivify is going to proc Mastery, and Essence Font Hot is going to cause Vivify to proc Mastery as well. So all of a sudden, this target, myself, with the Essence Font, when I cast Vivify on them, I'm proccing Mastery twice. If I cast Essence Font on the raid, I have the Essence Font Hot on myself. If I cast Renewing Mist, it's going to do the same kind of deal. It's going to proc Mastery twice. This is why Essence Font is so strong in raids. It's very strong in raids because it causes your Mastery to proc twice. So again, when you cast your Essence Font, you want to try and cast your Vivify. If someone's taking damage, you want to cast your Vivify on someone who has your Essence Font Hot on them. Now the fact is, if someone is about to die and they don't have your Essence Font Hot on them, heal them. Heal them. Don't care about that hot, don't care about the HPS, make sure that person doesn't die. But if everyone's alright, your mana, you want to optimize your HPS, people are losing HP, you cast your Essence Font, you want to make sure to Vivify the person who has that hot, and your Mastery is going to, it's going to proc twice. And then you go back to that chillaxing build of Soothing Mist and making sure your tank is feeling fine, make sure your tank is doing well. There is also relative misconception about Mistweavers and how to basically utilize your Vivify cast. A lot of people might think that I need to cast Soothing Mist and then cast my Vivify because it's instant. It really doesn't work like that because of the global cooldowns that attach to Soothing Mist, global cooldowns that attach to Vivify, especially on the fact that if you're going to be swapping targets, if you're going to be healing multiple people with Vivify, it might be better option to just cast Vivify on this target and then Vivify on the next target. The time when you really want to cast Soothing Mist on a target and maybe followed by Enveloping Mist or Vivify, instant Vivify on them, is when you know the tank or the person is going to be taking constant damage, and then you kind of want to cast that Soothing Mist. You want to maybe utilize your Enveloping Mist, your instant Vivifies on them. But if they're not going to be taking continuous damage, or if they're going to be healed up, you might just better off to just cast Vivify and then go to another target and cast Vivify on them. They're going to be topped up, especially if they have your Essence Font buff on them. So keep that in mind. Don't be pigeonholed into this playstyle of the only way I can use Vivify is if I cast Soothing Mist and Vivify on them. That's the only way. It really isn't. There is a downside to this instant cast because of the global cooldowns. Now, with your Thunder Focus Tea, which again is a 30-second cooldown, it empowers different things now from Legion, because in BfA now, Enveloping Mist immediately heals the target. It's no longer an instant cast. Renewing Mist duration is increased by 10 seconds. Vivify, it causes Vivify not to cost mana, and Rising Sun Kick reduces the cooldown by 9 seconds. Now, for tank healing build, you won't be using it on Rising Sun Kick. You'll most likely be using on anything else. Most of the time, a lot of people will be using Thunder Focus Tea into Renewing Mist to get that huge duration on your Renewing Mist. And you have to remember, from Legion to BfA, every time you cast Vivify, the target with your Renewing Mist is also going to be healed. It's going to be healed for a portion. So basically, if your target has Renewing Mist, your Vivify is going to splash onto them. And that's why you want to make sure that you keep Renewing Mists, or at least all the Renewing Mists, kind of on cooldown on the raid. So before you Vivify, try and make sure that your Renewing Mists are there, because again, Renewing Mist jumps from target to target. When you Vivify someone, they're gonna get healing, and again, you go back to that healing. If your tank is about to die, you know you have Thunder Focus Tea, you can use Soothing Mist, and you can use Thunder Focus Tea, which is not going to interrupt your Soothing Mist cast, and then cast Enveloping Mist, which causes a huge burst healing onto the target, which can save lives again. If you're running out of mana, you can use Thunder Focus Tea into Vivify, which makes Vivify free. Again, there's a lot of combinations here. Now, before this video gets 30 minutes long, let's look at the Aoe Healing Build. Aoe Healing Build in this term is going to be referred to as kick weaving or fist weaving build, and this is going to be completely different. This is a type of build that you're coming into a raid and you're like, hey, Mr. Raid Leader, we have 2 Holy Paladins, or we have 1 Holy Paladin. Tanks are not going to be taking any damage. I don't need to heal the tanks. I'm a Mistweaver. I can swap. I don't have to provide that single target healing. I can go and provide that AoE healing, a really mana-friendly AoE healing through kick weaving, fist weaving build. You can do that as a Mistweaver right now. So this is going to be very, very different. So first of all, in here, you most likely will be going with Chi Burst, because you won't be using Soothing Mist in this build. You won't be casting Soothing Mist, and most likely you won't be casting Enveloping Mist as well. So all of a sudden, anything to do with any spells or talents to do with Soothing Mist or Enveloping Mist are somewhat lost in the potential. They're lost in the potential and they don't want to talent them. So the only talent that it's viable and doesn't affect Enveloping Mist is Chi Burst. Again, Chi Burst is another easy way to actually apply your class buff, Monk class buff, which increases physical damage taken for the enemies that you hit them. And Chi Burst can be an easy way to apply that buff onto them. Keep that in mind as well. Now, tier 30, again, Chi Torpedo, Tiger's Lust, all depends. Tier 45 will most likely be used for your Spirit of the Crane. So Teaching of the Monastery causes each additional blackout kick to restore a percentage of your mana. And we'll talk about that later on. Tier 60, Ring of Peace is still extremely strong. Tier 75, Diffuse Magic, Dampen Harm. Still very, very popular picks. Tier 90, now tier 90 has a potential, like most of the people will be going with Red Crane. I mean, there is an option to go with different builds. Most of the people go with Red Crane, maybe Refreshing Jade Wind depending on the situation. Again, very Machos type fights. Again, you'll be eating into a lot of your global cooldowns because you'll be casting Refreshing Jade Wind as well between it. But a lot of people will go with the 3-minute cooldown, and in tier 100 you have to go with Rising Mist, because without Rising Mist this build does not exist. Rising Sunkick heals all allies with your Renewing Mist, with your Enveloping Mist or Essence Font. So basically, and extends the duration by 2 seconds. So basically, every time you use Rising Sunkick, it's going to heal the people with your HOTS and extend them. Extremely strong. So this is the bread and butter rotation for this. You basically want to... So first of all, you have Tiger Palm, you have Rising Sunkick, and you have Blackout Kick. Tiger Palm give you 3 stacks. Every time you get to 3 stacks, you can use a Blackout Kick, which is every time if you use Blackout Kick with 3 stacks, you will have a lot of chance of resetting the cooldown of your Rising Sunkick. Now, this is what you kind of want to do. You want to make sure you cast. First of all, you want to use Renewing Mist kind of on cooldown. Again, similar kind of deal. You want to make sure there's always a stack of Renewing Mist coming back up. You don't want to be capped at 2 stacks because you're wasting your Renewing Mist. You want to make sure to use it kind of relatively on cooldown. You want to Essence Font, and then you want to go into Rising Sunkick, and then you kind of go back into 3 Tiger Palms, Blackout Kick, and hope to reset your Rising Sunkick. If it doesn't reset, you keep stacking it. Again, Essence Font, Rising Sunkick, go back into that, 3 Tiger Palms, Blackout Kick, and hope to get a reset. Unfortunately, I'm really unlucky. I'm not getting any procs here. And you can basically do this. Renewing Mist, Rising Essence Font, Rising Sunkick, Blackout Kick, and I got a reset again, Rising Sunkick, and it works nice. Now, if you talk about Thunder Focus Tea, one of the most optimal ways to use Thunder Focus Tea is to use it on your Rising Sunkick. If you use Thunder Focus Tea on your Rising Sunkick, it's going to reduce the cooldown of your Rising Sunkick by around 9 seconds, and then you'll have this like a lull moment when your Rising Sunkick is gonna have around 3 seconds left over, depending on your haste. Haste reduces the cooldown of your Rising Sunkick. So let's say I have my Renewing Mist out, I'm using my Essence Font, then I'm using Thunder Focus Tea into Rising Sunkick. Now I have 2 seconds, I can apply Tiger Palm, and then I use Rising Sunkick again. So you saw I have like a 2 or 3 second window there where you could kind of do something. But basically, using Thunder Focus Tea into Rising Sunkick is one of the best ways to increase your HPS. Again, you have to use Essence Font followed by Rising Sunkick, because Essence Font applies so many HOTS on everyone, it's so efficient, and then Rising Sunkick heals those people. Rising Sunkick also extends the duration of the HOT. It's really, really man efficient. Now, you can do this build, you can do this rotation all day long. You can basically cast your Renewing Mist, Essence Font, and then use a Rising Sunkick, basically forever in the fight, because of your talents, because of your Blackout Kick talent, which I mentioned earlier. Spirit of the Crane, Teaching the Monastery causes each Blackout Kick to restore mana. You get a lot of mana back from this. I did a couple of raids where I just spammed Renewing Mist, Essence Font, and I did a decent amount of healing, and I was finishing fights with like nearly full mana. Now, this is where the kick weaving, fist weaving build becomes more interesting. Outside of this, when you don't want to use your Essence Font, when your Essence Font is on cooldown, when your Rising Sunkick is on cooldown, what you basically want to do is cast Vivifies. You want to do that spot triage healing on targets. You want to cast your Vivifies on them. You want to make sure to, again, try and cast your Vivifies on people who have Essence Font hot on them. So you're basically burning through your mana. You're burning through your mana. Let's say there's a really heavy... This is a scenario of a really heavy AoE fight. Really heavy AoE fight. You cast your Essence Font. You have your Renewing Mist down already. You use your Rising Sun Kick. Okay, now everything's on cooldown and people are still taking tons of damage. I'm going to go and Vivify people. I'm going to go and make sure to cast Vivify on these targets. I'm going to burn through mana because this is a really heavy AoE part. 10 seconds of this or whatever, everything's passed, everything's gone back to normal. So I go back to that, you know, Tiger Palm, Essence Font, Rising Sun Kick, Blackout Kick, Rising Sun Kick kind of combo and waiting for those resets. I go back to that kind of mana regen state. So that's why I really like this kick weaving build, because there is a lot of ways to optimize this. You can burn through your mana through those heavy AoE fights, heavy AoE portions, and then you can go back, you know, and regain mana when there's nothing to do. Now, when to use this build is really going to depend. How to optimize this build is going to depend as well. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to really optimize this, but I find this build to be very rewarding. I find this build to be one of the most interesting builds out there because it's there for you to mess up or it's there for you to really optimize. It's like you really need to decide when to cast those Vivifies, when people need Vivifies, when you cast those Rising Sun Kicks and things like that. Also, you need to make sure that if you have those 3 Blackout Kicks, don't use Blackout Kick if your Rising Sun Kick is still available. Or let's say you use a Rising Sun Kick, you use your 3 Tiger Palms, in this case, let's say you get 3 stacks, and I'm about to use my Blackout Kick when Rising Sun Kick is 2 seconds or something. It's not worth it at that time. You're better off waiting for the cooldown. You want to make sure to try and fish for those Rising Sun Kick resets when it relatively has a big cooldown. You know what I mean? You don't want it like to use Blackout, 3 stacks of Blackout Kick at the last 1 second or something like that. So there's a lot of different ways to optimize this. And this has been the look at 2 different talent choices. Now, let's look at stat priority. Now, in terms of stat priority for MISTWEAVER, it's kind of relatively annoying because you have 2 different stat priorities for 5-mans and another stat priority for raids. For raids, of course, intellect is becoming stronger and stronger. And then you have like crit versatility becoming really strong. In 5-mans, haste and mastery is the stats to use. Like, I mean, int again is really strong. And then haste and mastery are relatively equal or relatively really good stats to use in 5-mans, because in 5-mans you are proccing your mastery a lot. You are proccing your mastery a lot. Your mastery will become, sometimes it's like a huge portion of your overall healing in 5-man situations. In raids, you don't get to proc mastery as much. It's not that big of a deal, and all of a sudden haste and mastery are not that strong. If you want to get a really good indication of the stat priority, you can use that add-on, healer stat weights. Keep in mind that healer stat weights at the moment do not display haste properly, so you cannot have a good indication of how strong haste is. For MISTWEAVERs, you might have to use external spreadsheets for that, but in terms of stat priority, if you're doing raids, crit versatility extremely strong. Maybe haste is gonna come back in there because haste does reduce the cooldown of your damaging abilities, and if you're going with that kick weaving build or fist weaving build, all of a sudden maybe haste is going to become better. We'll see in the future when BfA is released. We'll see if the tool is going to be improved in terms of haste determination. In 5-mans, haste and mastery are the way to go. They're extremely strong. Now, in terms of raid legendaries and the people who are still playing pre-patch, I'll be honest with you, most of the people who have been raiding as MISTWEAVER have either used a combination of Pridus, the Cloak, or Balance, the Cloak, or any combination of those 3 legendaries. Of the 3 legendaries I mentioned, Balance, Pridus, and the legendary Cloak. That combination has been extremely strong in raiding situations. It's been providing a lot of HPS. I know the Cloak is very RNG, but it does provide a decent amount of HPS that it's relatively free. So keep that in mind, and those seem to be really good stats at the moment. So thank you guys for watching this long video. Let me know if you want to see more of these kind of MISTWEAVER videos. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. It really helps me out to keep making these kind of guides. Thank you guys, and I'll talk to you in my next video.